1,000 years ago, one Muslim general faced 100,000 enemy soldiers, outnumbered 10 to 1, deep in enemy territory, with traitors in his own ranks, and he still won. This is the true, untold story of Sultan Mahmud Ghaznavi. Not the monster they taught you about in history books, but the man history tried to bury. In the conquered territory of Peshawar, Sultan Mahmud was anxiously awaiting news from his envoy Asim, but 2 weeks passed with no word. His hope turned to worry. Had Asim and his companions been captured by enemy forces? He expressed his anxiety to courtiers and senior officials, declaring, "If I learn they have been taken prisoner, I will tear down every brick of the Multan royal palace. I will spare no one who does not accept Islam." 2 days later, the Sultan received news that one of Asim's companions had returned to Ghazni with a young woman. After the long journey, both were in very poor condition. "Bring them to me immediately," the Sultan commanded with a tone of surprise. "What has happened?" The soldier entered the Sultan's chamber, pale-faced, his eyes sunken, breathing heavily. The young woman's condition was even worse. The Sultan ordered water brought, and both drank several gulps. The soldier said, "Sultan of high rank, we did not rest our horses for even a moment on the road. Our intention was to meet you before reaching Asim's location. He has probably not yet arrived. Your Majesty, the reply Asim brought back from your message is a complete deception. The ruler of Multan, Daud bin Nasr, is an even more dangerous enemy than the Hindus. He has personally taken on the responsibility of assassinating you on behalf of the Hindus, and has laid a terrible conspiracy to defeat our army and force it into surrender. He has spread a vast web of treachery, and Impal and Biji Ray are behind the blueprint of this conspiracy. As part of that plan, they got hold of Asim. The map Asim brought to you is supplied by the Hindus. Biji Ray and Anand Pal's soldiers, posing as servants of Daud, are positioned at key spots along our route of march to ensure our army's safety. But when the opportunity comes, they will attack us and force surrender. Asim, with the soldiers under his command, will act as their puppet and urge surrender. Did Daud draw up this blueprint, and did Asim not understand it? He has himself been bought. He is now Daud's puppet." The soldier gave the Sultan a detailed account of the young woman, how this unfortunate woman had sacrificed herself for Islam and escaped with him. Through an interpreter, the Sultan learned from her the internal condition of Daud's court, what had happened during Asim's time there, what dealings took place between Daud and Asim. The young woman gave the Sultan detailed information about Daud bin Nasr's activities, his religious practices and beliefs. She also said, "I heard all this with my own ears and saw it with my own eyes, and I myself poured the wine for Asim to drink. Send this woman to the inner quarters, see that she lacks for nothing. Arrange food, rest and lodging for the soldiers too. At the royal guest house, make sure it is not revealed that they arrived before Asim." 4 or 5 days after their arrival, Asim Omar reached the Sultan's court. He told the Sultan that Daud bin Nasr had sent valuable gifts and was eagerly awaiting the Sultan's arrival. He presented Daud's conspiracy map, calling it a route provided by Daud, saying that if their soldiers passed through it, all security arrangements would be in place. Asim further told the Sultan that Daud bin Nasr was a very trustworthy friend. "I have already seen the road to Multan," said the Sultan. "But now you tell me, where are Biji Ray and Anand Pal's soldiers lying in ambush, and how will they launch a night attack?" Asim looked at the Sultan with surprise-filled eyes. The Sultan ordered, "Bring both of them here." A moment later, Asim Omar's missing bodyguard and the young woman stood before him. "Do you know this young woman?" the Sultan asked gravely. "Do you remember, when you were sitting in Daud's palace selling your faith and your life, this woman was serving you wine? Do you want to hear the details of your own crimes from my mouth, or from hers? Is it not better that you confess from your own lips?" Asim Omar stood up. The weight of his countless crimes and sins had consumed his faith. He could not find the courage to face the truth. Slowly, he drew his sword from its sheath, placed the hilt against his stomach, and pressed both hands upon the blade with such force that it pierced through his back. With a muffled cry he fell upon the floor, his body convulsing. The Sultan instructed the guards, "Throw his body outside the city in the open ground. He is not worthy of an honorable burial. He was a betrayer of his faith." The Sultan then called his military commanders and issued orders, "Tell the troops to be ready immediately. I will set out for Multan today. Full preparations must be made. We will have to fight at several points along the road. Insha'Allah, this time we will finish off the idol worshippers' conspiracy as well." The penance of a man. Asim Omar atoned for his many sins by plunging his own sword into his own belly. The Sultan ordered his body thrown outside the city walls. Under the scorching heat, convulsing in his final moments, he breathed his last. No one was allowed to give even a drop of water to Asim in his dying moments. Out of mercy for his past good deeds, the Sultan permitted his descendants to retrieve the body and give it a proper burial. Asim Omar had been one of the most senior commanders of Sultan Mahmud's army, highly skilled in warfare, courageous and sharp-minded. But at this turning point of his life, the temptations of women, intoxication, and petty greed for land had brought him to such disgrace that this treacherous, enemy-defeating Asim, this brave Asim who had killed thousands of enemies, this military strategist and cunning diplomat Asim, faced with his own crimes, could not answer them, and instead took his own life. Yet Asim had been a model soldier of Sultan Mahmud's army. His fame and reputation were celebrated everywhere. The commander-in-chief had great trust in his work. Despite the supreme commander's unquestioning trust and confidence, he had been sent on this critical mission as the Sultan's special envoy, Qasim Omar, a young man, a unit commander in the Sultan's army, stubborn, sharp-minded, resolute in purpose. From childhood, he had listened to tales of war at his father's feet. At a young age, his son Qasim was enrolled in the Sultan's army. On the battlefield, he was his father's worthy successor. At the time of Asim's death, his son Qasim was a full-grown young man, having earned an honored position in the army through his own merit. When news of his father's death reached Qasim, he was filled with grief that the post of a distinguished commander had been left empty in the army. He was saddened to think that his father had gone to Multan as a special envoy. Perhaps the Hindus had martyred him. The absence of such an important person for the army, and of a father, caused him deep pain. He believed his father's body had probably been taken away from Multan. The messenger who brought the news of his death took Qasim to Asim's body. Under the open sky, in the sand, beside the blood-stained body of his father, Qasim was stunned, his father's body pierced by a sword. Near a building outside the city, the Sultan's supreme commander Abu Abdullah Muhammad Atrazi was standing. Seeing Qasim bin Omar standing stunned beside his father's body, Abu Abdullah moved forward step by step. A deep compassion stirred in him for young Qasim. He placed his hand on his shoulder and turned him toward himself. He said, "Hearing the story of your father will give you more pain than this sad sight. Were fathers love and devotion. Remove from your mind any reverence and love for him. Instead, let your faith, duty, and love of country take root in their place. I see fresh blood. It seems he was perhaps killed here shortly before," said Qasim bin Omar. "What crime did he commit to deserve such a brutal death? I know he went to Multan as the Sultan's special envoy. But why did this happen to him? Your father took his own life. No one killed him. There is no enemy here. There was none. He himself became his own enemy. He betrayed his faith, his religion, his country, his nation, and his army. And, as penance for that betrayal, your father took his own life," said Abu Abdullah. Abu Abdullah explained to Qasim the full background of his father's history in detail. Why and under what circumstances he chose the path of suicide. Must I too suffer the punishment for my father's crime, honorable commander? Qasim asked respectfully. Will I be dismissed from the army? The Sultan has given no such order yet. Command of the army is now in my hands. I have also taken no such decision. In my view, you are a brave and dutiful commander. I hope that in meeting your responsibilities, you will rise to my rank one day. That is your starting point. Your whole life still lies ahead. I hope you will learn a lesson from your father's mistake. Try to understand how the lure of sin seduces a person, how crime corrupts an honorable soldier. Think about it, how pleasure, intoxication, and worldly greed have led even a duty-bound soldier like Asim Omar astray from his country, his army, his faith. What a terrible trap it is. That a man like Sultan Mahmud, just and righteous, can be defeated by infidels, and his own homegrown Muslim mujahideen can be handed over to be enslaved. Think, when guilt pursues a man, even a brave hero like Asim Omar chooses the path of a coward and takes his own life. You are young. In the lives of young men, the most frightening thing is that the call of sin becomes hard for them to resist. They fall into the torment of sinful youth. Honorable Commander, will I be given the opportunity to atone for my father's crime? You have been given every opportunity. Come, pull the sword out of the body. Give your father's corpse a proper burial. Arrange for his shrouding and funeral. Can I meet the woman who came from Multan and who was a direct witness to my father's crime? Take the body home. I am sending that woman to your home. She will tell your mother everything. If you wish, you may speak with the soldier who brought this woman. Qasim bin Omar pulled the sword from his father's body. The Supreme Commander arranged for Asim's body to be taken home. Asim had brought his wife with him to Peshawar. Asim's wife was a girl from Peshawar itself. In 977 AD, when King Jaipal launched his first military campaign against Sultan Subuk-Tagin and was defeated in open battle, Jaipal fled. With him were many Muslim captive women and civilian people. They were captured by Subuk-Tagin's soldiers. Among those captives was Asim's wife, Qasim's mother. Before this, Jaipal's army had looted homes in the Peshawar region and abducted young women, bringing them as servant girls to the military force. Asim had married one of them. Asim's wife knew the local Peshawar language, so when Asim received orders to go to Peshawar, he brought his wife along for cooperation as a local language speaker. The son Qasim was born to that woman, a victim of idol-worshipping military atrocity. By nature, Qasim was an opponent of idol worship, a burning flame of Islamic consciousness. Qasim had learned his mother tongue from his mother, and from circumstance he already knew the Ghazni language. Seeing Asim's body, his widowed wife burst into tears. But seeing Qasim's blood-stained sword, his mother's tears froze. She stared at her son with wonder-filled eyes. "Mother, the way you are weeping. For a man like him, a woman of your dignity should feel no grief." "Throw this sword away," Qasim said to his mother. "No one killed him. He took his own life with his own sword." Qasim excitedly asked his mother, "Mother, tell me honestly, am I truly his son? Were you previously a Hindu? Am I not born of Hindu blood? Was I raised and nurtured in a trader's home?" "Qasim," his mother cried, clutching her son, "what are you saying? What has happened? What am I seeing? Who are you calling a traitor?" "The commander who rebelled against the betrayers of Bukhara and Balkh, the lifelong jihad fighter against idol worship, the fearless soldier, the battlefield warrior steady as a mountain, the servant of the faith and mujahid. You call your father a traitor. He went to Multan as the Sultan's envoy. When did he return? How can he be a traitor? What has happened, father? Tell me everything." "I cannot tell you, mother. A woman from Multan will tell you everything. She is coming." And one of the soldiers who escorted the envoy's bodyguard is also coming. You can learn everything from him. Look, they have arrived." First to enter the room was the woman from Multan. The Supreme Commander Abu Abdullah had sent her to Qasim's home. Qasim noticed the woman was not very old, quite young, but her face carried none of youth's radiance and charm. The marks of torture and oppression were plain on her features. Looking at her face, one could tell a great storm had passed through this girl's life. Yet still, a mesmerizing quality, sharpness, and wisdom were present in her expression, capable of drawing any man's gaze. The girl entered Qasim's home and introduced herself. "My name is Rabia. I have been sent to your home." "What did my husband do in Multan?" asked Asim Omar's wife. "What honorable men of noble nature do, he also did," replied Rabia. She continued, "Daud bin Nasr had trapped Asim Omar using wine, women, music, entertainment, and the temptation of power." Rabia explained in detail. Wine, women, song and dance, pleasure and entertainment, that is all Daud's court had. I had no special attachment to your husband. I did not even know who he was before. But Daud bin Nasr was plotting a conspiracy to destroy Sultan Mahmud's army by deceiving them through a show of cooperation. Your husband became an easy victim of that conspiracy. I came to know this when I was ordered to serve them wine. I myself poured the wine for both of them with my own hands. They both drank to their fill. I was ordered to remain at their gathering. I was present at their conversations. Unfortunately, I also became part of this conspiracy. My father had married me off to a cowardly man. That person left me as a gift to Daud bin Nasr. I had broken down mentally from the pain of this wretched fate. Forced to live a sinful, impure life, I had inwardly died. Living felt like a curse to me. But a wise and devout person revived my near-dead heart. He was a childhood friend of my father. He made me understand that Daud bin Nasr is an enemy of Islam. Knowing deeply the internal affairs of the harem, I could inform our people about his plots and conspiracies and play an important role for the good of the faith in the community. Even if your outward life is difficult, perhaps Allah will forgive your helplessness and be pleased with your service to the faith. His words gave me comfort. Within a few days I established myself as the most trusted and dutiful servant in Daud's harem. I took upon myself the responsibility of regularly informing my friend's father about Daud's activities. Rabia said, "The goals of the Karamati sect are boundlessly wicked, and so is their conduct. The Karamatis claim to be Muslim, but there is no sin they consider forbidden. Multan is their main center. The ordinary people of that region have been led astray by them and are becoming Karamatis one by one. There are some people actively opposing the Karamatis, but they are not open. They are extremely secretive. No one there can dare openly oppose the Karamatis. My friend's father is a leader of the anti-Karamati group. He is a believer in pure faith, a hard-working true believer. He says his power is not enough. That is why he cannot come to Ghazni. He says if given the chance to meet Sultan Mahmud, he would request him to lead a Multan expedition. Because the Karamatis are more dangerous and more hostile to Muslims than even the Hindus. I visited him regularly. Everything that happened at Daud's court, whatever conspiracies were hatched, all of it came to my knowledge. I passed on this news to him faithfully. I also came to know about Sultan Mahmud through Daud's harem. Raja Anand Pal and B.G. Ray came to Daud every few days. They regularly consulted to plot ways to defeat Sultan Mahmud and destroy his army. About your husband, I had learned that he was a high-ranking officer in the Sultan's army. So I respected him. But he fell into the trap of Daud's harem's beautiful young girls and wine, forgetting his duty, and even joined the conspiracy to destroy his own army. After I informed my friend's father of this, he summoned one of your husband's bodyguards, explained everything to him, and arranged for me to escape from the harem. I came to Ghazni with that guard. We arrived in Ghazni before your husband, met with the Sultan, and fully informed him of Daud's treacherous plans as proof of your husband's betrayal. The Sultan presented me and that guard before him as evidence. When your husband realized his own fate, understanding his own end, he suddenly drew his sword from his waist and stabbed himself in the stomach. Qasim and his mother Nairi were listening to Rabia's account. When Rabia finished, his mother stood up, took Asim's sword, extended it toward Qasim and said, "I want to see the enemy army's sword buried in your stomach. But before that, I want this very sword to kill at least 100 enemies. Do not give me this sword. The blood on the sword carries the stain of wine. This sword is impure. Can one wage jihad with an impure sword?" said Qasim. Asim Omar was buried as an ordinary person. His wife felt regret at Asim's death, but did not cry and wail the way a devoted wife cries at the death of a great commander. Asim's wife harbored mountain-deep hatred for the Hindus. In her youth, she had been a victim of Hindu abduction. She believed it was the curse of innocent, helpless young girls that had brought about the defeat of the mighty Jaipal. By the mercy of Allah, she had received a skilled soldier like Asim as a husband. Within a short time after marriage, Asim rose to the rank of commander. But by cruel fate, the soul devoted to Islam in the Muslim army, that capable husband, was ensnared by the Hindu conspiracy and forced to take his own life. Qasim's mother had been happy to hear of the Sultan's Peshawar expedition, so she had arranged to accompany her husband. Asim had brought his wife to Peshawar because she could be useful as a local language speaker. Qasim's mother's heart burned with intense hatred against Hindus. She could never forget the tortures inflicted on countless young women by Hindus, but the dream of revenge that had brought Qasim's mother to Peshawar. That mother's heart was now filled with grief and bitterness. The unbearable pain had shattered her brave spirit piece by piece. Qasim's mother had transferred all the dreams of her life from her husband to her son. She was now determined to shape her son into a brave fighter against the tyrannical Hindus. She kept Rabia close to herself, as a companion in misfortune. Rabia, who had endured such terrible hardship to save the Sultan's army. The difficult fulfilling her duty, she praised Rabia warmly and prayed for her with all her heart. The very same day that Asim Omar set off for Ghazni with a conspiracy map, Daud bin Nasr quickly went out and informed B.G. Ray of what trap he had laid to defeat the Sultan, how he had confused and deceived the Sultan's own envoy and made him a puppet in carrying out the conspiracy. B.G. Ray took Daud's news and left for Lahore that same day to meet Anand Pal. He told Anand Pal, "Within a few days the enemy will fall into our trap. Your job is to deploy soldiers along Mahmud's route and render his army helpless." Hearing B.G. Ray, Anand Pal said, "How did you become so trusting of Daud? Daud himself is a Muslim. How can we believe Daud would bring about our collective ruin? Can we trust Muslims this much? You still don't know. Duwat is not actually a Muslim. You have no knowledge of the Karamatis. How can they be Muslim again? The sins they commit, no non-Muslim does that either. Calling them godless would not be wrong. They are Muslim in name only. In reality, they are extreme enemies of Islam. Even then, if Daud deceives us somehow, the consequences will be very harsh for him. He is surrounded by us on all sides. If he betrays us, we will seize his kingdom, kill him, or throw him into the darkness of a prison for life. Do not think for a moment that Mahmud's soldiers are coming to attack us right now. Mahmud wants to make Multan their military base. Making Multan the center, Mahmud wants to bring your and my territory under full control. I have sent 2 spies to Peshawar. As soon as Mahmud's forces set out from Multan, they will ride fast horses and give me advance notice. I am sending the guerrilla force into the hilly areas. When Mahmud's army enters the narrow passes, they will rain arrows from above and annihilate them. Besides, they will make guerrilla night attacks on every one of Mahmud's camps and then slip away. In this way, under continuous attacks, they will be forced to retreat. If Mahmud's army even manages to reach Multan, he will lose half his force along the way. After that, I have also arranged for Mahmud's assassination. For a long time, Anandpal and B.G. Ray discussed strategies for trapping and defeating Sultan Mahmud. Because of 3 consecutive defeats, Anandpal was bound by a pledged truce with the Sultan. After the final defeat of Jaipal, as conditions of surrender and treaty, Jaipal's son had promised the Sultan that henceforth his army would never wage war against the Sultan, and would also deposit a fixed annual amount in the Sultan's treasury without demanding war expenses. But Anandpal, having ascended the throne, was ignoring his late father's treacherous promise. He had a strong fear of the Sultan's attack. He wanted to eliminate the Sultan by any means. But the Sultan's army was advancing. That was also frightening for him. Anandpal was thinking, if B.G. Ray's plan damages Mahmud, will it not bring danger back upon him instead? The Muslim soldiers have the spirit for guerrilla warfare that our soldiers don't. For guerrilla warfare, soldiers must be intelligent, brave, skilled, and sacrificing. Our soldiers lack these qualities, said Anandpal. Send your guerrilla force, I will support them, but I cannot directly send any regular army. To come this way from Peshawar, Mahmud must cross the Sindhu River. I have built a pontoon bridge over the river. I will arrange to block them there so they cannot cross. I will deploy forces around the bridge so they cannot get the chance to cross. Even if they somehow manage to cross, it is your responsibility to block their path. All of us should try. If they come this way, they must not be able to return alive, said B.G. Ray. Faster than their plans, the Sultan's army prepared for the Multan campaign. The Sultan gave swift orders to uproot the Karamatis entirely. He had no shortage of supplies at that moment, so he did not even need to think much about preparation. The Sultan summoned his commander and senior officers and briefed them on the expedition strategy. He also told them, along the way, keep camps as minimal as possible. Wherever a camp is set up, night guards must be kept strong. Guerrilla forces must be deployed around the camps to protect against sudden attacks. Because there is risk of guerrilla attacks at every point until we reach Multan. Special care must be given to protect the army from this risk. To select the vanguard force, the Sultan gave instructions to Supreme Commander Abu Abdullah Atrazi. He said, don't think that the vanguard force will clear the path while the remaining soldiers march comfortably through the fields, eating the crops and fruit and pickles of the people, and reach Multan without difficulty. Everywhere we go, every tree, every blade of grass, every clump of earth is our enemy. Every mountain, hill, and bush along the way is a death trap for us. The vanguard force must advance step by step. They must move with the sharp eyes of an eagle and the constant alertness of a deer. Their pace must be quick and goal-focused. Remember, the vanguard force will face resistance at every point. They must repel fierce attacks and advance. Every single member of the main army must also be fully ready to face the enemy at any moment. The ordinary commanders could not understand why the Sultan was asking the vanguard force to be so cautious on this expedition. Though unknown to all others, Qasim bin Omer knew the innermost secret of the Sultan's caution. Knowing this, after the Sultan's instructions, he stood up and said, Sultan of high rank, if my proposal is not considered a violation of your command and interference in your decision, then my request is give my unit the responsibility of the vanguard force. What is your name? The Sultan asked. His name is Qasim bin Omar, replied Supreme Commander Abu Abdullah in Qasim's place. He is Asim Omar's son. The Sultan's expression changed as he looked toward Qasim. He paused briefly and said, the vanguard force will be selected later. You sit in a side room. I will speak with you separately. After giving everyone instructions on strategy and preparation for the expedition, the Sultan dismissed them. He called Supreme Commander Abu Abdullah and Qasim for a private meeting and asked Qasim, "Why are you eager to take the responsibility of the vanguard force? All the dangerous hardships that the Sultan's army will face along this expedition route were created by my father, so it is most appropriate that his son be the first to face those hardships," said Qasim. "Honored Sultan, his mother came to me. She has no regret about her husband's suicide. She is deeply grieved that her husband caused such great disaster for the Sultan. She told me that she wants to sacrifice her son on Allah's path. She wishes him to be given the opportunity in the vanguard force so that he gets the chance to atone for his father's crimes. Are you also a self-deceiver like your mother? Or will you too become a victim of faithlessness like your father?" the Sultan asked Qasim. "There is no way to convince you other than by oath. Great Sultan, I can promise that I carry my mother's inspiration, not my father's weakness. As a soldier, I am my father's successor. I have always seen and heard of my father as a sharp-minded, brave, and intelligent commander. But after seeing his shameful end, I have taken an oath to give the faithless a fitting lesson. You perhaps do not know what fire burns in your mother's heart against the faithless. From the very beginning of her youth, she was abused by the faithless and tormented by Hindu beasts. Girls of your mother's time were so unfortunate that the Hindus defeated them and left them behind. We rescued them and arranged their marriage with soldiers of the army. Qasim, you are young. You may not know. Hindus consider the honor of Muslim young women as a religious duty to destroy. Yet how heartfelt and earnest it is for Muslims to sacrifice their lives to protect women's honor and Islam. A Muslim considers even a non-Muslim woman's honor a sacred trust and gives his life to protect that trust. Islam considers touching a woman's body a grave sin and punishable crime, while the faithless encourage the dishonor of women's respect as if it were an act of virtue. Qasim, if a single Muslim woman anywhere in the world is abused, it should rob all Muslim young men of their sleep. The news of a Muslim woman being dishonored should make all the world's Muslims burn with desire for revenge. So we must avenge the honor of our Muslim sisters ourselves. We must break the dark hands of the beasts. Otherwise our children will again and again be bloodied by their brutality and claw strikes. Revenge. Revenge for the dishonor of daughters and sisters. I am ready to take that revenge. Sultan of high rank. Qasim. Youth is a kind of intoxication, said the Sultan. Since childhood I have heard from my Sheikh and Murshid, in people the tendency to do good is far more powerful than the tendency toward sin. But that tendency is within human will. If a person steers his will toward doing good, only then can he stay free from sin. Ah! Your father's death gave me less pain than his moral decline. His whole life of jihad, his service to Islam. He drowned all his contributions in Moulton's few days of revelry and pleasure. He came back only with his body. His heart he had already killed in Moulton's dance halls. Abandon the attachment to this sinful, impure body, Qasim. Try to keep the soul free from impurity. My Murshid Sheikh Abul Hassan Kirkani said, "A person's heart or soul is Allah's pure trust. Whoever stains this pure trust has betrayed Allah's trust." Qasim, try to keep the soul pure. Your father made his soul impure, which caused a renowned, capable person to face a shameful death. His shameful end causes me much pain, Qasim. Look, that girl from Multan, even while submerged in the ocean of sin, kept her soul engaged in good deeds. She had sacrificed herself in the service of Islam. As a result, Allah arranged her freedom from that sinful, impure world. She herself informed me of your father's downfall and the conspiracy. Look, a helpless woman devoted to Islam. Through that woman, too, Almighty Allah could take great work from us. Had she not informed us in time, we would have faced an unknown, very serious danger. Qasim, you perhaps know the purpose of our expedition. You might also have understood that there will be hard obstacles at every step. I know what our expedition's goal is, and what dangers may lie along the way. Sultan of high rank, please grant me permission so that I can choose my favorite companions myself. I hope the faithless traitors will not be able to stop our advance. Sultan Mahmud told Supreme Commander Abu Abdullah, give Qasim the opportunity to choose his preferred companions. Qasim selected 500 fearless, brave, and experienced soldiers for the vanguard force. They set off from Peshawar ahead of everyone else. Qasim bin Omar was the commander of this force. Qasim's horse rode ahead of all others. Alongside him, riding another horse, was a veiled woman. Qasim knew who his veiled companion was. After advancing quite a distance, Qasim's horse stopped. The whole caravan halted. Qasim dismounted from his horse and faced the veiled woman, saying, "Now entrust me to Allah's hands, mother." He kissed his mother's feet and said this. His mother also dismounted. She tied a small amulet-like thing on Qasim's right arm and said, "This is that blessed verse of the Holy Quran whose blessings will remove all obstacles and take you to your destination with success. The condition is, you must remain steadfast in your faith. To keep one's physical strength intact, the strength of faith must remain firm. Farewell, my dear son. If you return alive, I will be happy, but I will be most happy if your body returns as a martyr, and through your martyrdom, the Muslim army achieves victory." After saying this, the mother's voice choked. Her body trembled with emotion. Tears flowed endlessly from both her eyes. Without delay, Qasim leapt onto his horse with one jump and spurred it forward. The vanguard caravan began to move. After going far ahead, Qasim looked back. Qasim looked back. On top of a hill, like a shadow, an indistinct horseman was circling. Qasim guessed his mother was waving her hand to bid him farewell. The horse moved forward. A tall hill hid mother and son from each other. On a vast plain outside Peshawar, Sultan Mahmud stood before his army as the darkness of dawn was being pierced by the first light of the eastern sun. The long rows of supply-laden camels were moving steadily forward. The soldiers stood awaiting the Sultan's orders. "Brother Mujahids, today you march not on my orders but on Allah's orders. Today you are going to a land that once rang with the call to prayer of Muhammad bin Qasim and his companions, but the faithless no longer allow the sweet sound of the azan to be heard there. In that place the name of Islam is now being erased. Mosques are today abandoned. The infidel faithless have desecrated Allah's houses of worship. Tyrants rule with oppression. It is the honor of your sisters and daughters being looted in those lands, house by house. Those oppressed mothers and sisters are looking with anxious eyes awaiting your arrival. If even a single Muslim woman anywhere in the world becomes a victim of oppression, then every Muslim has the obligation to wage jihad against the oppressor to protect her. The Holy Quran commands, fight against the infidels until oppression ends. The idol-worshipping army has attacked you 3 times, and each time you have defeated them miserably. The Hindu kings are bent on trampling you underfoot and destroying the power of Islam. Today's expedition is not merely a battle between 2 armies. It is a conflict between 2 eternally opposing ideologies. Islam is the only true religion and the charter of humanity's liberation. To establish this undeniable truth and to remind the faithless of it again. Today's expedition to foreign lands. Although the paths of Multan are unfamiliar to you, do not think of it as a foreign land. Its soil longs to welcome Muslims. The trees and plants of Multan, the land of Multan, is alive with the jihadi spirit of Ibn Qasim. The Mujahid caravan longs to be blessed by the footsteps of riders. The air and breeze there, the trees and plants, all are eagerly awaiting you. The very soil of Multan is waiting to welcome you. The sky of Multan is yearning to be satisfied by the sound of your takbir. Sultan Mahmud's emotional and fiery speech grew longer. He had already given the commanders and officers official instructions on battle strategy and action. Before the expedition began, he wanted to instill in every soldier the conviction that this military campaign is not for expanding the country's geographical boundaries, not for the purpose of spreading royal authority. It is jihad. Jihad to liberate the oppressed Muslims. Jihad to reclaim Islamic territory. Jihad to restore the lost honor of Muslims. Jihad to revive the erased history. The Sultan's emotionally charged and fiery speech deepened the resolve in the soldiers' hearts. Among them arose a fierce desire for revenge against the faithless. A spark of fire spread in every soldier's chest, the entire army, ready to blow away the faithless like dust with fierce anger, rose up sharply to face the enemy. Meanwhile, Qasim bin Omar's vanguard force reached the riverboats near the Sindhu River crossing at midday. When Qasim's unit reached the middle of the bridge, a volley of arrows suddenly came and blocked the way in front of the boats. Qasim warned everyone. A voice came from the other bank. Do not try to advance, otherwise we will turn you into a sieve with arrows. Who is blocking our path? Qasim called out loudly. We are Sultan Mahmud's soldiers. Raja Anandpal is our benefactor. Anyone who tries to stop us crossing this bridge will face terrible consequences. By Maharaja Anandpal's orders, no Yavan Muslim shall be allowed to cross this bridge and come to this side. Turn back. Qasim noticed. On the far bank, tall hills, dense forests, thick groves. Qasim could only see a few people on top of the hill. It was difficult to estimate how many soldiers were hiding behind the bridge's security, and to stop the Muslim army, even more soldiers were lurking and hiding. With only one companion, Qasim swiftly crossed to the other side. The Hindu soldier standing on the hill asked him sharply, "Why are you trying to cross the bridge and bring an army here?" "We have not come to attack anyone," Qasim replied. "The question of attack and war does not arise here, because the king of this territory is our benefactor. We have come with goodwill. We should be given the opportunity to cross the bridge. Your benefactor king has given orders. The Muslim army is coming. They must be stopped on the bridge," said the Hindu soldier. "Your king is not supposed to be here. He is supposed to be in Lahore or Batanva. Maharaja has pitched his camp only 7 miles from here," said the Hindu soldier. "If you want permission to cross from him, send your sultan or vizier to him." "I am the sultan, I am the vizier. Take me to your king," said Qasim. "I will not go back under any circumstances. If you want to stop me using hidden archers from the ambush, even then I will not accept your obstruction. We can cross the river without the bridge too, but it is not right to risk life following your king's unjust orders." The Hindu soldiers took him along. As Qasim observed in all directions, he could see many soldiers hiding behind the hills. Crossing the hill and advancing a little further, his eyes fell on Raja Anandpal's camp. Qasim began to observe the geographical condition of the area. It was not difficult for Qasim to understand. Why had Raja Anandpal himself camped here with his army? Raja Anandpal's camp was on a green, lush plain. Qasim was taken to a large, square tent. After passing through several rooms, he saw, inside a large room beautifully furnished like a royal court or royal throne, Raja Anandpal seated upon it. 2 extraordinarily beautiful young women stood fanning him from behind. The Raja had been informed beforehand of who was coming to meet him, so the Raja's expression was thoughtful. Around him stood his senior officials and military commanders. "Does your sultan want to cross the river? What is his intention in coming this way? Where does he want to go?" Raja Anandpal asked Qasim. "You are our benefactor. You have not yet paid the treaty ransom as required. According to the treaty, you are still under our obligation. Therefore, what right do you have to ask why the sultan wants to cross the river? Even so, I give you this assurance, the sultan has not come to fight you. We want the opportunity to pass through peacefully. I forgive your arrogance. Know this. I am no one's benefactor. The treaty was made by my father. I have made no treaty. He is dead. Your sultan has never defeated me. So why should I pay my father's fine? Tell your sultan. I know where he wants to go. We will never allow the sultan to establish a military base in Multan. I also know what is happening on the other side of the mountains. I can tell you right now where your sultan is and how many soldiers are with him. Tell him to go back. I refuse to accept his authority. Why would I surrender to him? If he truly wants to cross the river, tell him to come to my court for permission. We do not allow our sultan to go to the court of any arrogant king. Our sultan has no need to approach a king who holds his head high with arrogance. Even if he himself wanted to come here, I would not allow him to come, said Qasim. Speak respectfully. You are insulting our royal court, an official said sharply. He looked at the king with eyes seeking revenge. The king smiled slightly and said, You may go. You are young. I forgive you out of mercy for your youth, and never again set foot on the bridge. Do not dare set foot on the bridge again. If your sultan comes with the desire to fight, tell him we are ready. If he has the courage, let him try to cross the bridge. We have not come to fight, Qasim replied, suppressing his anger. We are leaving. Qasim returned and gave the sultan a detailed account of Anandpal's obstruction in the meeting. I am grateful for your intelligence and sharp-mindedness, Qasim. You made an excellent diplomatic move. We needed to put him in exactly that kind of uncertainty. Watch. Tonight, I will arrange to cross the river. Your vanguard unit will wait near the bridge. Another cavalry unit will stay right behind you as support. Other soldiers will cross the river by different routes and attack Anandpal's camp. You will wait for my message. As soon as you receive word, cross the bridge swiftly with your companions. The enemy army will not be facing you. Keeping you at their backs is difficult to say. Use your intelligence and think ahead. Now go behind the bridge. Make sure no army can detect your position. Pay close attention to one more thing. If any person resembling a saint, dervish, or soldier crosses the bridge and comes toward you, you must arrest them. At this time, any unknown person is most likely a spy. Sultan Mahmud informed Supreme Commander Abu Abdullah, Raja Anandpal is waiting with his army on the other side of the river. He has prevented us from crossing. Go out now in the guise of a fisherman and observe the conditions along the riverbank, or send some far-sighted commander. Tonight we must cross the river and attack Anandpal's camp. Sultan Mahmud had already learned from Qasim the environmental conditions and geographical nature of the riverbank so that after crossing the river it would be easier to determine their direction of movement. On the other side, Raja Anandpal stationed half his army to guard the Sindhu River Bridge, so they could stop the Sultan's army right there. The bridge was located a little upstream from the confluence of the Kabul River and the Sindhu. Sultan Mahmud, knowing the river's condition, advanced a little further upstream and crossed the Sindhu. There the river was wide but shallow. Before dawn, all of the Sultan's soldiers had crossed to the other bank. It was the spring of 106 A.D. Raja Anandpal could not even imagine that the Sultan's vast army would cross the river without the bridge in such a short time. Anandpal was sleeping in blissful unawareness. When the Sultan's direct assault on Anandpal's camp began, they had no chance to resist. Anandpal's soldiers who were guarding the bridge were fully prepared. Receiving news of the attack on the Raja's camp, they rushed forward to resist. By then, morning had come. Meanwhile, Qasim and his companions were anxiously waiting for the Sultan's message. He had deployed 2 men on top of a high hill to observe the situation on the other side, watching the war situation between the Sultan and Anandpal. When they saw that the Raja's bridge guard army had left its post and was running toward the battlefield, they signaled Qasim to understand the situation. Qasim ordered his companions to cross the bridge swiftly, and lightning fast reached the other bank of the bridge. Together, Qasim launched a fierce attack on Anandpal's bridge guard army from the rear. Raja Anandpal had no chance to counterattack. The situation was such that fleeing was Anandpal's only option. The Raja fled for his life. His army scattered in disarray. Most were captured by the Sultan's forces. Some managed to escape and the rest were killed. The Sultan's army chased Anandpal as far as present-day Ajrabad, but Anandpal crossed the Punjab River in the middle of the night by paying the boatmen a large sum and barely escaped with his life. This battle is known in history as the Battle of the Sindhu. The Sultan's retreating soldiers also scattered, but the Sultan quickly sent messengers and gathered the scattered soldiers on the eastern bank of the Jhelum River. However, gathering the retreating Muslim soldiers scattered behind the enemy army and reorganizing the whole force took about a month. Sultan Mahmud told his military chief and commanders, "We have moved far from B.G. Ray's position. At this moment we should avoid conflict with B.G. Ray. Our soldiers are battle-weary. Besides, placing the baggage and wealth captured from the enemy in a war-ready position would be difficult. Now our target is Daude bin Nasrur. Finishing off the internal enemy of the faith first is more important." So the Sultan's army now marched toward the throne of Daude bin Nasr in Multan. Again, Qasim bin Omar's unit led the advance. This was the third day of the march to Multan. Qasim bin Omar was ahead of everyone. Alongside him rode two local guides on horseback. Suddenly Qasim spotted a horseman about 400 or 500 yards away. The man had stopped his horse and was observing Qasim's force. Seeing the advanced scouts, the man quickly galloped away in one direction. Others thought the man had perhaps fled in fright at seeing the soldiers. But Qasim sensed the man could be B.G. Ray's spy, riding fast to give B.G. Ray advance warning of the Muslim army's approach. Qasim asked his guide, "How far is the settlement from here, and in which direction?" The guide said, "The settlement is not far. That man is riding toward the settlement." Qasim bin Omar with two cavalry riders pursued the fleeing horsemen. The man had gone far ahead, but Qasim and his companions' horses were swift. They raced. At one point they spotted the tall minaret of the settlement fortress ahead. As the distance between the fleeing man and his pursuers gradually narrowed, Qasim told his companions, "Draw your arrows. He must not be allowed to reach there alive." One companion, mounted on a galloping horse, fired an arrow. One arrow struck the man in the back, and another struck his horse's flank. The fleeing horseman's horse slowed further. Qasim's companions fired two more arrows but missed. By then the city's boundary wall had surrounded them on all sides. The boundary wall was as high as a fortress. The fleeing horsemen entered the city gate, and Qasim and companions turned their horses back. B.G. Ray was seated in his court. His chief commander was reporting to him. The guerrilla force had been deployed for 1.5 months, yet they had not spotted a single one of Mahmud's soldiers. Before B.G. Ray lay the conspiracy map that Daude bin Nasr had given to Asim Omar. B.G. Ray had deployed a large number of guerrilla forces along the prepared route to destroy the Sultan's army through surprise attacks. And every day he expected that waking from sleep he would hear that his guerrilla army had begun to overpower Mahmud's forces. Then, every day the victory tales of his soldiers would ring back to him. But 1.5 months had passed, no news, not even a sighting of Muslim soldiers. This was an extremely disappointing matter for B.G. Ray. So where did the Muslim army go? B.G. Ray wanted to know from his commander in a sharp voice. News came from Peshawar that Mahmud's army had set out from there. So where did they go? Where did they disappear? "I think Daude has deceived you. Or rather, Sultan Mahmud's envoy has deceived your people. Trusting a Muslim was your mistake, Maharaja," said the commander. Just then B.G. Ray was informed that a soldier had returned to the fortress with an arrow in his back. Before B.G. Ray could say anything, the arrow-struck soldier entered the court. His back still had the arrow stuck in it, his whole body soaked in blood. The wounded soldier said, "At one point during my observation I stood to track the movement of a small unit of the army. They also came forward. When I understood they were Sultan Mahmud's soldiers, I turned my horse to come back. But their 2 cavalry riders gave chase behind me. They fired several arrows in succession. One struck me in the back and another grazed my horse's flank. I believe these are the Muslim army's vanguard force." "Yes, they are that army we have been waiting for," said B.G. Ray. B.G. Ray told his commander, "We will not give Mahmud the chance to encircle the city. They have been exhausted by a long journey. We will force them to fight away from the city in a location of our convenience. Right now, position yourselves outside the city." Moments later, the war drums began to beat. War preparations began in B.G. Ray's forces. The terrifying cries of war elephants, the neighing of horses, and the clamor of soldiers filled B.G. Ray's capital with noise. A unit of soldiers was sent ahead to find out how far the Muslim army had advanced. Shortly afterwards, news came. Mahmud's army had crossed 10 miles past the city. B.G. Ray ordered his army to be in battle-ready position to block their path. In a very short time, B.G. Ray's army went out of the city. Qasim bin Omar, leading the vanguard force, informed Supreme Commander Abu Abdullah, "An enemy soldier we were chasing was wounded by our arrows and fled back to the city." Abu Abdullah immediately informed Sultan Mahmud. The Sultan, hearing this news, fell into deep thought. After a moment, he ordered the supply-laden camel caravan to halt right there. He appointed some soldiers to guard the supplies and told Qasim, "Observe the movements of B.G. Ray's army and report to me." The news Qasim brought the Sultan after observing the enemy's situation was not encouraging at all. B.G. Ray had positioned his entire army in battle-ready formation 4 or 5 miles from the city along the Sultan's path. He had chosen the location to his advantage. He had placed his elephant force in front of all others. The Sultan knew the weakness of the elephant force. How much danger an injured elephant brings to its own side was his sufficient experience. Drawing on his past experience, he ordered the infantry armed with arrows and spears to counter the elephant force. Several elephants were wounded and ran in terrifying cries in the opposite direction. But their rear was left open. The wounded elephants caused no damage to their side. The Sultan stood on a high spot observing the battle situation. He was amazed by B.G. Ray's battle strategy. This was the first time he was surprised to see the effective use of elephants. The Sultan saw that his infantry had been overwhelmed by the elephant force. He ordered the cavalry to support them. 1,000 cavalry units leapt in to support them. But B.G. Ray's cavalry surrounded the Sultan's cavalry from 2 sides, surrounding the cavalry from both sides. As a result, Muslim cavalry could not come to the aid of the infantry soldiers. Hindu soldiers were chasing Muslim soldiers with great energy and bravery. Their commanding was also skilled. Sultan Mahmud sent a unit behind them to attack from that direction, but they had kept their rear under their control from before. The Muslim soldiers who went to attack from the rear were themselves surrounded by Hindu soldiers. They could attack, but saving their own lives became difficult. At one point, the Hindu force sent the elephant herd against the Muslim soldiers. After much struggle and heavy casualties, a portion of the Muslim army managed to break free from their encirclement with great losses. Thus, the day came to an end. The Sultan was under tremendous pressure, thinking what to do. Not defeat, but retreat. The Sultan saw no path to victory. The Sultan moved a long way around and reached near the city to see whether he could attack the capital and drive B.G. Ray from his field headquarters. But there was no opportunity there either. B.G. Ray had made sufficient arrangements to protect the city too. He had deployed countless entrenched soldiers outside the city for the capital's security. That same night, Hindus also attacked the Sultan's supply lines. For the first time, the Sultan saw that Hindus were turning his own strategy against him. The whole night passed without sleep. The Sultan performed only the Fajr prayer. Then a ground attack was launched, but it had no result. What Muslim soldiers thought was the enemy's flank was not actually the flank. It was a trap. The Sultan's infantry had walked right into that trap. After the infantry's defeat, the Supreme Commander sent Qasim bin Omar's cavalry to replace them in that position. Qasim's unit plunged into a battle of life and death. Despite bodies falling upon bodies, Qasim's companions did not retreat from facing the enemy. The battlefield turned red with fresh blood. Rows upon rows of dead bodies covered the entire field. The cries of the wounded and the weeping of the injured companions made the atmosphere terrifying. But neither side backed down from the confrontation. Rather, the attack grew fiercer. The intense fighting lasted until evening. By the beginning of the third day, the Sultan's forces had been reduced to half. The rest had either been killed or fallen wounded. Supplies were nearly exhausted. Even in the third day's life-or-death confrontation, the Sultan was overcome with despair. He thought once, it is pointless to push soldiers toward death like this. But on the third day, the Muslim soldiers attacked even more fiercely. Seeing their emotion and the intensity of their attack, the Sultan changed his decision. He addressed his bodyguard force, Mujahid brothers. For victory, I sacrifice my life on Allah's path. From now on, I myself will command the battle. The Sultan's emotional and fiery speech stirred the blood of the reserve and bodyguard soldiers. The soldiers' takbir cries made the enemy's sky tremble. With the reserve force, the Sultan plunged into the battlefield. The Muslim army roared like a lion to face the enemy. The enemy force too had fought back with its last strength, but still Bijiray's army remained firm on the field. At one point the Sultan made his force retreat. He dismounted from his horse, offered 2 units of prayer. Completing the prayer, in one leap he mounted his horse and declared, Mujahid brothers, Allah has given me the sign of victory. Friends, move forward, finish off the faithless. At the Sultan's call, the Muslim army ignited like lightning fire. With a loud voice and a sky-splitting battle cry, all cavalry rushed to kill the enemy. While the Sultan was prostrating before Allah, Bijiray was in the idol temple worshipping the deity with his priests. Seeing the Muslims' unwavering strength and valor, a frightened and terrified Bijiray was weeping and begging for help at the deity's feet. When Bijiray was again informed of the Muslim army's attack, he burst into tears, grasping the idol's feet. He kissed the idol's feet and took the form of a fire-bearer to the battlefield, hoping for victory. Then he heard the sky-filling cry, Mujahid brothers. Not victory, but martyrdom. Soldiers of Allah. This is a conflict between idol worshippers and believers in Tawheed. Mujahid brothers. Where will you flee from Allah's earth? Not victory, but martyrdom. Move forward. The scene of the battle changed completely at this moment. Muslims were now fearless. Their one and only goal, victory. Throughout the entire Muslim army arose one spirit, one consciousness awakened. From their eyes it seemed sparks of fire were falling. Swords were flashing, as if the mouth of his fiery passion had opened wide. The lava of fire spread across the entire battlefield. The Sultan himself was giving commands. At the stroke of his sword, rows of human bodies were falling to the ground. Wherever he went, the enemy army was being cut down like weeds. Supreme Commander Abu Abdullah saw the Sultan's extraordinary passion. He gave priority to the Sultan's security. He deployed 3 small special forces on his right, left, and behind him. He ordered them, at whatever cost, repel any attack on the Sultan. Abu Abdullah saw that the enemy army was now directionless. Bijiray's army was battle-weary. Piles of bodies had accumulated on the field. The enemy army, facing the fury of the Muslim army head-on, was no longer attacking but now trying to save itself. So he gave strict orders for security on both flanks and rear of the Muslim army. At the same time, he told the mujahids on both sides, attack even more fiercely. Before their eyes, the appearance of the battle changed completely. B.G. Ray's frontline forces diminished. B.G. Ray ordered the city guards to jump into the battlefield. The city's security guards came to the battlefield in moments. This intense battle situation with the last glimmer of daylight disappeared into darkness. The Sultan halted the attack with the enemy force facing defeat. Understanding that the city guards had come to the battlefield, Abu Abdullah launched a night guerrilla attack in the darkness and ransacked the capital. He broke down the city's main gate. He demolished several sections of the fortress walls using explosives. By next morning, nowhere in sight was B.G. Ray's flag flying. The Hindu army scattered. No trace of B.G. Ray. After long searching, a group of Muslim soldiers found B.G. Ray surrounded by a small army on a distant field and rushed toward them. Without fighting, B.G. Ray's guards fled for their lives wherever they could. The Sultan's soldiers surrounded B.G. Ray. The unit commander ordered him to surrender and drop his weapons. But B.G. Ray did not drop his weapons. He drove his own sword into his own stomach. At the cost of a sea of blood, the victorious Sultan entered B.G. Ray's capital. More than 200 trained elephants came into their possession. Night had descended by then. Corpses lay everywhere as far as the eye could see. Most soldiers on both sides were either dead or wounded. Cries of wounded soldiers, pitiful moans, and the bizarre screaming of wounded animals filled the entire field and city. Lighting many torches, mujahids set out to find their wounded companions. From among piles of bodies they began pulling out the fallen companions. In the middle of a pile of bodies, a wounded Qasim was writhing in death agony. From tremendous blood loss, he had become unconscious. In this condition, from across the field came a woman's voice. Qasim, Qasim, if you are alive, respond to my call. Qasim, you are successful. My hope has been fulfilled today. Allah has accepted my prayer. Qasim, say, are you alive? The Four-Virgin Fortress. 1,000 years ago, the moonlight of that night was dim. The sky was a dusty gray color. Sultan Mahmud's soldiers had fought a deadly 3-day battle. The blood river that had flowed and the cloud of dust that had floated in the sky of Bara had covered that sky with a layer of dust. In the pale light of moonlit night, as far as the eye could see, dead bodies, the marks of dried blood and wounded injured soldiers, the mixed cries of horses, camels, and elephants had made the environment unbearable. The silence of night was not the silence of that day. The settlement of Bara was a vivid portrait of a massive conspiracy. Miles upon miles of earth had taken on the red color of human blood. That land is today part of Pakistan. Although the conquered territory is now Pakistan, no one in Pakistan knew the address of the martyred fighters who came from far Ghazni. They had come from distant Ghazni. Coming from Ghazni, those death-defying companions of the Sultan had liberated the victory land of Muhammad bin Qasim from the grip of idol-worshipping traitors. Those deserted mosques they had freed from the unclean grass of sectarian influence. Communal Hindus had converted mosques into temples and horse stables. Those mosques they had reopened again with the victory cry of Tawheed, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Among the countless wounded Muslim soldiers' pitiful cries and unbearable agony was also gratitude for subduing the idol worshippers. The death-approaching mujahids, forgetting their pain, were giving thanks to Allah for the terrible defeat of the enemies and for the success of entering the Sultan's enemy land victoriously. Many were breathing their last, but instead of crying out that they were dying, their lips resounded with gratitude to Allah, devotion to victory, obedience to Allah. Alhamdulillah. Those soldiers were the possessors of firm, unwavering faith, firm believers in Islamic creed and practice. They had come leaving their homeland for distant Multan to rescue Muslim daughters and sisters from the clutches of mushrik beasts. Those mushrik beasts who were imposing beastly torture upon Muslim women, making them slaves. They had come to free the ruined houses of worship of Allah's worshippers and open them again for Allah's servants, at the cost of a sea of blood. That day Ghaznī's lions freed the oppressed Muslim helpless women from the grip of idol-worshipping traitors. Those who were alive, forgetting the weariness of battle, were roaming the entire field in the darkness of night with torches in hand, searching for their companions' dead bodies and the surviving wounded companions. Hundreds of torches split apart the darkness of night and scattered across Beera's fields and plains. Enemy soldiers and wounded mujahids' cries, sky-filling screams had descended on Beera's land like Judgment Day that night. Wounded camels, horses, and elephants had created a strange, terrifying situation. Amid countless people's pitiful cries and the bizarre screaming of wounded elephants, the mujahids heard a faint voice of a woman. "Kazem! Kazem! If you are alive, respond to my call. I am looking for you." In Allah's victory name, mosque after mosque had been reopened by the victory cry of monotheism. Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! Among the countless wounded Muslim soldiers' pitiful cries and unbearable suffering was also the gratitude of subduing the idol worshippers. The death-approaching mujahids were forgetting their pain, giving thanks to Allah for the terrible defeat of the enemies and for the success of victoriously entering the Sultan's enemy territory. Many were breathing their last, but their lips, instead of crying that they were dying, rang with gratitude to Allah, devotion to victory, obedience to Allah, Alhamdulillah. Those soldiers possessed firm, unwavering faith, firm believers in Islamic creed and practice. They had left their homeland for distant Multanine, to rescue Muslim daughters and sisters from the clutches of mushrike beasts, those mushrike animals who were imposing beastly torture upon Muslim women, making them slaves. They had come to free Allah's worshippers' ruined houses of worship and open them again for Allah's servants, at the cost of a sea of blood. That day Ghaznī's lions freed oppressed Muslim helpless women from the grip of idol-worshipping traitors. Those who were alive, forgetting the fatigue of battle, were roaming the entire field in the darkness of night with torches, searching for their companions' dead bodies and surviving wounded companions. Hundreds of torches split the darkness of night and scattered across Beera's fields and plains. Enemy soldiers and wounded mujahids' cries, sky-filling screams, as if Judgment Day had descended upon Beera's land that night. Wounded camels, horses, and elephants had created a strange, terrifying situation. Amid countless people's pitiful cries and the bizarre screaming of wounded elephants, the mujahids heard a faint woman's voice. "Kazem! Kazem! Kazem! If you are alive, respond to my call." A big torch, directionless like a lost soul, was running in all directions, sometimes looking at the face of a wounded person nearby in the torchlight, disappointed, running again with the torch held high, and her voice resonated. "Qasim, Qasim, answer my call. I am searching for you." Right in the city of death, Qasim lay in one spot in a critically wounded state. His body was covered in countless wounds. From excessive blood loss he had lost all strength. To lift his head was out of the question. He did not even have the strength to open his eyes and see the world. His consciousness had not completely faded, but nothing of the battle's terror remained in Qasim's mind. "Qasim, Qasim." This enchanting woman's voice was resonating in his ears, drifting and floating. But at that moment, his heart was absorbed in thoughts of the next world rather than this one. He was thinking, perhaps he had managed to atone for his father's crime with his own life and the blood of his entire body. So the fairies and angels of heaven were coming forward to welcome him with honor. These thoughts kept spinning around in his fading mind. At one point, the call became even clearer. "Qasim." Qasim's focus broke. His mother's image floated up from the pages of memory. He shuddered, remembering his father's crime. He recalled, his mother had given him his father's sword, saying, "I sacrifice you to Allah against the enemies of Allah. I want to see you dead or pierced by an enemy's sword, but before death, Even if little, kill hundreds of enemies with this sword. Only then will the agony of my heart be relieved. He also remembered he had returned his father's sword to his mother, saying, "Don't give me this sword, mother, it has become impure. The stain of wine and impure women's influence is on it." He also remembered after setting off from Peshawar, far along the way, his mother had tied a Quranic verse amulet on his right arm and said, "Farewell, my pieces of heart. If you return alive, I will be happy. But if your body returns bringing news of victory, I will be even happier." In his ear rang the entreaty of Supreme Commander Abu Abdullah to his mother. "I am sacrificing my only son on Allah's path. I humbly request that he be given the opportunity to atone for his father's crime." Blood was still flowing from Qasim's wounds. These memories stirred his feelings to the extreme. Every word of his mother was resonating in his ears. Qasim's wounded heart stirred. Alas, where am I? Has the victory his mother hoped for been achieved? Have I been able to atone for my father's crime? Where is the Sultan? Where is Commander Abu Abdullah? How are my companions? Have they all been captured? Has the Sultan retreated? Has B.G. Ray's fortress been captured? My sword. Who will tell my mother? Your son has given hundreds of enemies a taste of death with this sword. Will that not give your soul peace? Such thousands of questions increased the pain of the wounded Qasim even more. Qasim had no way of knowing. The Sultan had emerged victorious. He was now sitting in B.G. Ray's palace, receiving final situation reports from commanders and officers and giving necessary instructions. On the other side, B.G. Ray had taken his own life with his own sword. Thinking about the outcome of the battle, his mind became restless. Forgetting the pain of his wounds, he tried to stand up. But not a single limb of his hands and feet was unwounded. His entire body was riddled with sword and spear wounds. Trying to stand straight, he doubled over in pain. "Ugh!" A sound escaped his mouth. He sat down. But sitting too was not possible for him. The Sultan's, the army's, and his mother's aspirations gathered strength in his helpless body. Now pressing into the earth with great difficulty, straightening his waist, Qasim stood up. He glanced around. He saw, in the darkness, many torches were roaming. Pale moonlight. The moon kept getting covered behind clouds at intervals. In the midst of all this, again in his ear came that call. "Qasim! Qasim, where are you? If you are alive, respond to my call." Alongside, a man's heavy voice was heard. "This woman seems to be looking for someone. Someone take her. She is searching for Qasim's body," said one person. "Tell her we are picking up the wounded and dead. Who is she? Find out." The people were talking in Ghazni's language. Qasim wanted to signal them with a gesture of his hand to show his position, but he himself could not hear his own voice. He had no minimal strength in his body due to intense pain and abnormal blood loss. Besides, the field was noisy with wounded soldiers and riders. Calling out loudly to anyone else was not possible. The torches were not far from Qasim, but it seemed to him they were now as far as miles and miles away. It was not possible for Qasim to advance a single step. Trying to move forward by cutting the grass on his feet, Qasim fell down. With great difficulty, he straightened his head and sat up. Just then he heard, "Water. Water." Targeting the voice, Qasim saw. Right in front of him, a wounded soldier was moaning. But if he were a Ghazni soldier, he would say water, not pani. This person was certainly from Multan, a Hindu soldier most probably. Since his mother's mother tongue was Multani, Qasim also knew it. Hearing the word water, a terrible thirst cried out in Qasim's chest. His chest felt like it had become a scorched desert. He could not remember when and where he had last drunk water. Even in the horrible terror of battle, the Sultan's troops had forgotten hunger and thirst. In his memory, only the battle and his mother's words were resonating. Qasim was the vanguard forces commander. When the Sultan himself took command of the battle and launched a devastating attack on Biji Ray, Qasim was fighting a life-or-death battle right beside the Sultan. Most of his companions had been martyred in direct combat. At one point, struck repeatedly, Qasim fell unconscious. He does not remember any of this. He only remembers that the battle was gradually going against them and victory seemed far away. "Brother, for God's sake, give me a little water." The wounded man started pleading urgently. Hearing God's name, Qasim's near-dead body also seemed to catch fire. He reached for his sword. But silence. When had the sword fallen, he did not know. Not finding the sword, Qasim pulled out a dagger from his waist. Right at this moment, the wounded man said, "You must be a Muslim." "Yes, I am a Muslim," Qasim thought for a moment. Pressing the dagger against his waist, he said, "A Muslim never kills a thirsty enemy. You are thirsty, but I have no water. You asked for water in God's name. Your God will not bring water. I will give you water to drink. The fire of Allah's mercy fills our chests, so during battle we feel no hunger or thirst. For 3 days we have fought forgetting hunger and thirst. We have no thirst. Allah has filled our chests with contentment. Wait a moment. Let me see if I can find water for you." Qasim tried to stand up, but his legs would not move. With tremendous difficulty, he crawled on all fours to a nearby body. He took a water pouch from the body's waist. Crawling on all fours, he reached the wounded man's side and said, "Open your mouth." The man said, "You are a Muslim. I will not drink water from your hand." Qasim was astonished. Such hatred they have. Even at the time of death, the man was not willing to drink water from a Muslim's hand. How much do these people hate Muslims? Then call your God. See if God brings water. We fight in Allah's name. So during battle we feel no hunger or thirst. For 3 days we have fought forgetting hunger and thirst. We have no thirst. Allah has filled our chests with contentment. So we feel no thirst. Allah will not bring water for you. I will give you water to drink. Now the Hindu soldier tried to reach out for the water pouch. Qasim held the pouch to the man's mouth. The man in one breath gulped down half a pouch of water. "Do you know anything about the outcome of the battle?" Qasim asked the man. "I am not an ordinary soldier. I am the commander of 200 soldiers. I have been wounded after our king's death. Where is our sultan, can you say?" "Probably in the city. Listen, at the time of death you gave me water to drink. I am going to die anyway. I will tell you one true thing. Never trust our people. Destroying Muslims is the teaching of our religion. We have deceived many Muslims and kept them under our control. Our ancestors always say, Muslims are our eternal enemies. Finishing them off is our religion. We try every possible way to destroy the Muslim nation. Even if we are defeated in this battle, war will not stop. As long as a single Hindu lives in the world, he will try to destroy Muslims. This is our religion. This is the command of our religion. Hearing the Hindu soldier's words, Qasim's consciousness stirred even more. While speaking, the Hindu soldier's tongue became rigid, and shortly after his voice stopped. With a hiccup, he became silent and still. When Sultan Mahmud entered the city of Beira in victory, all the Muslim residents of the city, young and old, men and women, came out of the city to welcome him. The sky of Beira was filled with fresh life from the combined sound of everyone's takbir. Some fell in front of the Sultan's horse out of sheer joy and emotion. The Sultan became emotionally overcome with the joy of the Muslims. After long days, the Muslim residents of this place had regained life. But seeing the pale and thin faces of the Muslims, the Sultan's mind, instead of rising with the joy of victory, was filled with sorrow. On the other side, Bera's Hindu men, women and children, and young men carrying pots and pans on their heads were fleeing the city. The Sultan's gaze fell on them. He became serious. He told his military commanders, "Stop them. Where are they going? Evening has come. After abandoning their homes, they are going. Where are they going in the darkness of night?" In a serious tone he said, "Announce, regardless of religion, we will not chase any resident of the city, loot anyone's home, set fire to anything, not attack anyone's honor. Bring them back quickly. Say those who are in the city should bring the bodies of their known relatives for burial and get the wounded to the medical center. We do not have enough manpower to bring all the wounded from the field. If they wish, they can also take women to the field for this purpose." By the Sultan's order, the fleeing Hindus were brought back. Those who were on their way were given assurance. The Sultan's proclamation was spread throughout the city. It was announced that the Sultan had no quarrel with the city's residents, no conflict with them. The conflict was with the king, and the conflict happened with the king's army. The ordinary citizens were completely innocent. Both Hindus and Muslims were told to bring the bodies. Muslims rushed toward the field to bring back the dead bodies and wounded companions of the Sultan. Groups of people set out with torches in hand to bring them for care and medical treatment. After the general amnesty announcement, the chief priest of the city's main temple sent several trusted Hindus to the temple and called many frightened Hindus. Arriving, a large number of Hindus gathered in the temple. Today, no bells rang in the temple. In their eyes, the faces of the idols seemed faded today. Although Saraswati's face smiled, they felt it was the bitter smile of the idol's failure due to the priest's incompetence. Silence filled the entire temple. Shadow of grief. The chief priest, without reciting any shloka, spoke to the assembled priests in a serious voice. "Our army has been defeated. Our king has died. But we are still alive. A chance for revenge has come. The Sultan has given us permission to stay in the city and promised his army will not bother us. They have also given assurance. No kind of looting, burning, or oppression of anyone will occur. If they wanted to loot the city, destroy the city, the whole city would have risen up just now. We can use this golden opportunity. We can take revenge for the defeat. In the darkness of night, the task can be solved very easily." The priest said in a serious voice, "Everyone in the city, Hindus and Muslims, men and women, have been ordered to bring their killed relatives for burial and get the wounded to the medical center. Go to the field quickly. Everyone take a torch and keep a dagger or a small axe alongside. Although the Muslims won, more than half of their soldiers have been wounded. The Muslim soldiers who are lying wounded on the field, if they recover and come to the medical center, they will be more dangerous for us. Hundreds of Muslim fighters are lying wounded on the field. You will see them yourselves. Among them, those who cannot stand up, finish them off on the spot with your axe. There is no need to tell all the Hindus of the city this news. If we talk too much, some opportunist could expose our plan. Men and women all go. Kill as many enemies as possible until morning. To please our motherland and our deity, we must do this work ourselves. Go. As quickly as possible, everyone get to work." The place where Qasim had fallen wounded had few casualties around it. There were also no rescuers nearby, so until now no one had come this way to rescue anyone. The Qasim call that had been heard until now was also no longer audible. The hope of rescuers arriving was gradually fading. Qasim had no thought about his own life. His hope was that he could humbly ask before the Sultan and Commander Abu Abdullah, "Have I been able to atone for my father's crime? Let my mother know. Has her hope now been fulfilled?" Far away, Qasim saw many torches moving. But everyone was busy over there. No one was coming to his side. In despair, Qasim's body was becoming numb. It was not possible for him to advance a single step. Both feet had no strength. From excessive blood loss, the body had become drained. Just then, Seeing two large torches coming this way, Qasim was surprised. He lifted his head and kept watching the two torches. With great difficulty he straightened his head and sat waiting for the two torches to arrive. He thought, "These are probably our own people." And again in his ear resonated that call, "Qasim, Qasim, if you are alive, respond to my call." Alas, Qasim, who had the will to respond to that compassionate call, had no voice coming from his throat despite 100 wishes. Stopping and stopping, pausing by pausing, the two torches were advancing toward Qasim. Qasim could clearly tell the two people were stopping to look at bodies. Thinking and thinking, the two torch-bearers came close to each other and stood before Qasim. Torches blazed in their hands. Qasim heard a quiet conversation between the two. One was telling a companion, "Muslim, the throat is cut fatally. We cannot help him." "Yes, I am a Muslim," Qasim announced in a very faint voice. "Give me good news of victory. I think you are residents of this area. You may not be able to speak my language, but I think I can understand your words too." One of them looked at the other with a cunning smile. One pulled out a dagger from his waist. He said sharply, "Yes, I will make you hear the good news with the tip of this dagger." Without finishing his words, the man raised the dagger to strike. Qasim was helpless. Far from counterattacking, he did not even have the minimal strength to move a little to save himself. Qasim's life and death hung by just a moment's thread. In just a few seconds, Qasim's chest would be torn apart, had the dagger strike not been stopped. The torchbearer whose dagger was coming down to strike Qasim's chest. From somewhere like lightning, a torch came and struck the attacker's face. With one cry, the attacker fell face down. His shining dagger flew and fell far away. The torch also fell from his hand. These people were ready to kill the near-dead Qasim. Before this, they had already killed 3 wounded mujahids. Qasim was their 14th victim. Rabia's flung torch from a short distance had saved Qasim from the dagger strike. In the torchlight, Qasim could see. The fallen attacker's torch had been picked up by Rabia. Rabia was taking a fierce battle stance in preparation for confrontation. This is that Rabia, the Rabia who had run away risking her life, crossing a long distance to give Sultan advance news about Asim bin Omar's trap and Daud bin Nasr's conspiracy. This same Rabia whose true testimony had caused Commander Asim to take his own life, because of whom the Sultan and his army had been saved from facing destruction, his father's crime, and now on the battlefield she appeared as the lifesaver of the son Qasim. One attacker was saved from Rabia's flung torches strike, but the second attacker remained. Seeing his companion Rabia, he raised his axe for confrontation. The attacker saw. A young woman in a fierce form was standing with a torch in hand. She had no weapon. Qasim was wounded. Facing her was impossible. Besides, Rabia had never held a dagger in her life. The torch in her hand was her only support. Ready to kill Qasim's life, the attacker headed toward her, so she flung the torch at the attacker's face. Missed target. The torch struck the attacker's clothes. The attacker's clothing caught fire and kept burning. His companion Rabia, seeing him, rushed to kill her first. She became engaged in confrontation using her torch as a shield. In the suddenness of the situation, like a lightning fire, in one leap, Qasim stood on his feet, but he could not move a single step. Between Rabia and the attacker, the confrontation was going on. Like a skilled warrior, Rabia was blocking with the torch in hand. Near-dead Qasim, seeing this tense situation, could not stay still. The mujahid spirit awakened in his near-dead body. He pulled out the dagger from his waist. The dagger in hand, he waited for the opportunity. As soon as the attacker turned toward Qasim, seeing him in the torchlight, he aimed the dagger straight at his stomach. A perfect hit. The dagger went completely through the enemy's stomach. Struck by the dagger, the faithless fell unconscious. As soon as the attacker turned his back, Rabea immediately pressed her torch against his clothes. The attacker's clothing caught fire. The frightened attacker ran in all directions looking for water to put it out. A little further, he stumbled and fell. When the rescuers from afar saw a person on fire and heard screams, one of them ran this way. They came and saw Rabea and the wounded Qasim, and nearby, 2 faithless were convulsing. These were Ghazni army members. Qasim and Rabea told the soldiers what had happened earlier. Hearing the account, the soldiers went to the attackers' sides. One of them was in a pitiable state. The other attacker's eyes and face were burned, but he still had the ability to speak. A Ghazni rescuer unit commander placed a sword on his chest and said sharply, "Who are you? Where have you come from? Say, why were you trying to kill him? Otherwise I will drive this sword through your stomach." The faithless attacker, trembling at the mujahid's anger, began to say everything. He said, "We are the chief priest's messengers. By his order we came to the field to kill wounded Muslim soldiers. Before these 2, we have already killed 3. This person was our 14th victim." Hearing this horrifying news, the Ghazni rescuer army's people began searching the entire field. From there, the Hindus were immediately stopped from entering the field. With lightning speed, the chief priest of the main temple was arrested. Qasim bin Omar was brought to the medical center. When the Ghazni army set out from Peshawar on the road to Multan, a few commanders and officers' wives were also with the caravan. The supply caravan's palanquins carried them. Besides the wives of senior officials, there were also a few other women in that caravan. The main job of those noble women was to serve and care for the sick and wounded. In other battles, wounded soldiers were cared for by soldiers themselves. But understanding the importance and overall situation of this battle, women were brought along so that soldiers in their exhaustion could take help from them in caring for the wounded. Where Mother did not want to let me come, she told me to stay with her. Rabea was telling Qasim, sitting beside him while he got his wounds bandaged, and felt some relief. "But at the time of your departure, your mother told me, this expedition has received permission for a few women to go along. I requested her, please arrange for me too to be part of the caravan. I don't know. She told whom and arranged for me to join the caravan. I told your mother I helped trap a treacherous commander of the Sultan by luring him, helping the Sultan and the Sultan's army escape a terrible defeat. If you want to reward me for this, then arrange for me to go with the battle caravan in some way. The fire of pain and sorrow burning inside me. That fire will be extinguished on the day the Sultan conquers Multan and I kill my faithless father with my own hand. I will demolish Daud bin Nasr's sinful palace with my own hands. On that day, Judgment Day will happen there." Your mother heard my words and said, "Sister, the fire burning inside me is no less. I also want to go to battle. But it has been decided, no woman can go with the caravan without a husband." Speaking, tears began streaming from both her eyes. She said, "You go. My only son has become the commander of the vanguard force. I hope my son will never retreat on the battlefield. He will not die until his head is separated from his body. I have given him courage, saying, if you return alive, I will be happy. But even if your life is the price, I want good news of the battle. Sister Rabea, don't say anything to anyone. I am a mother. When I think that on the battlefield my son is crying, 'Water, water,' my heart shatters into pieces. Then there is no courage left. But I console myself thinking, my son Qasim is not an ordinary person. I am a mother of a mujahid. Mujahids die fighting, not living. Dying fighting the faithless is a mujahid's success. Think, this mujahid born from my womb is not mine. He is only Allah's trust in my lap. When Allah wishes, He can take back the trust. It is wrong for me to grieve over this. Then the mind becomes calm, the grief eases somewhat. Your mother held my hand and said, Rubayya, give me your promise. You will go before everyone searching for the wounded and find my son first. You will give water to his lips. You will play the role of a substitute mother for him. Rubayya, you have no child of your own. Give him your motherly affection. Above is Allah and below I am entrusting my son to you. Qasim. Your mother also told me this, Rubayya. If news reaches you that my son turned his back on the battlefield or was fleeing from confrontation, then with a sword, spear, or dagger, you yourself kill him. Consider my husband was a traitor, and his offspring child has also become a traitor. Finish off the traitor. Extinguish his seed as well. If he does such a thing, what remains of his life? Some saint or elder's broom sweep and cut away. He said this. Have you received any information about my activities? Qasim asked Rubayya. During the battle that took place to cross the Sindhu River on the way from Peshawar, I had asked Commander Abu Abdullah, what news of Qasim? He said Qasim fought with tremendous bravery. I told him I gave him news so that Qasim would not know of my arrival, because if he received news of my arrival, his mind could turn this way too, and his focus on the battle would be broken. Rubayya further told him, we had been arranged to stay with the supply caravan far from the battlefield. We were not receiving news of what was happening in the battle. 3 days of continuous fighting went on. No one was allowed to come to our side. One day we received news. The battle situation was critical. Perhaps we would have to retreat. Hearing this, all the women firmly resolved to participate in the fight. I had no news of you from anyone. We were all praying for victory. Just now, around midday, we were informed our victory has been achieved. But our losses are great. The number of casualties is high. Dead bodies cover the entire field. There are not enough people to bring in the wounded. We were sent to this medical center. Doctors would clean the wounds and apply medicine. The women would bandage the wounds, give the wounded medicine, give them water to drink. One after another, wounded fighters were being brought to the medical center, and their body blood was cleaned and medicine applied to the wounds. Many people's faces were completely soaked in blood. Most were in a critical condition. Several people even died after reaching the medical center. I was cleaning blood from the wounded's bodies. Whenever conscious people were available, I asked about you. Many showed concern. Only 3 people said they had seen you, but all said the same thing. His unit went in that direction, and very few people returned from there. After sunset, I found one wounded man from your unit. He told me, if Qasim bin Omar has not yet come here, he is probably dead. Qasim was wounded in front of my very eyes. The man also said, probably I am the only one who survived from our unit. Qasim was our unit commander. The battle situation was such that it seemed the Hindus would finish us off and take our last breath. When the Sultan directly commanded the final assault, the commander told us the king's flag must be torn down. He gave us orders to attack the king's defensive position. The commander said, Qasim, if you can tear down the king's flag, whatever reward you ask will be given. It felt like at farewell time, the commander was giving us his final farewell. The wounded soldier also said, in the end, Qasim became so emotionally driven that he would either tear down the king's flag himself or end his own life. In the final attack, we were reckless. Qasim's spirit had made us all mad. We had forgotten death. We struck life or death blows. We attacked and demolished the king's flag. But by then, none of us were on horseback anymore. The enemy soldiers had wounded everyone. My belief is, if he has not been seen here until now, he is no longer alive. Then I came out of the medical center. I picked up a fallen torch lying on the path. Coming to the field, I was stunned. I had never seen blood-soaked bodies before. And seeing the bodies here, I felt as if an immense forest had been cut down and countless trees left lying. I was looking deeply at every body. I would run at every wounded person's moan. Seeing every Hindu body, I would feel a kind of calm. But seeing a Muslim fighter's dead body, tears would fall from my eyes. Spending a long time like this looking around, the work of sending the wounded to the medical center continued. At one point, I started calling you. Something strange happened to me. Your mother's spirit seemed to enter my chest. I started loudly calling out your name. Many rescuers said, "Go back, Qasim cannot be found here." No one's words gave me comfort. Looking all over the field, I came this way, where bodies were fewer. Without finding you, I would have searched all night. In daylight, I would recover your body and only then return home. Whoever I found, I would ask about you. At that moment, my eyes fell on two torches. I was behind them. I moved forward slowly. My intention was to ask them about you. But from a short distance in the torchlight, I recognized your face. You were sitting then. I could see you, but could not understand why you could not see me. I was trying to figure that out. Just from their clothing, I could tell they were not Ghazni rescuers and not Muslims either. I had no fear of misfortune seeing them. But when I saw one of them had raised a sword to strike you dead, without thinking anything, I ran and struck his face with the torch. Qasim. This is truly Allah's great mercy. Your being alive is something, but you must remain alive. Allah will certainly keep you alive, because your work is not yet finished. After receiving news of Biji Ray's defeat, Daud bin Nasr abandoned his Karamati palace and took refuge in a fortress built at the time of Muhammad bin Qasim. Inside the fortress was a vast palace. Many rooms inside the palace, guards, slave quarters, stables, a massive courtyard, a well-maintained pond, an ornamental garden. Broadly, a royal palace. There was a well-known legend about this fortress that after Muhammad bin Qasim captured the area, when Hindus later seized it, they killed many children and women and threw them into one of its rooms. Now, jinns and ghosts inhabited this fortress. This was on everyone's lips. People especially said that Hindu captors had tortured 4 virgins to death in that house. The crying of the 4 dead virgins could still apparently be heard inside the fortress. The running and jumping of children. Noises of playful chatter and laughter could apparently sometimes be heard too. People had such fear of this fortress that no one would go near it. Some said they had seen fire burning on the fortress roof. They had seen fights between ghosts and spirits. Apparently there were still bones of the dead lying there. On the day Sultan Mahmud conquered Beira, there was a fair at this 4-virgin fortress in Multan. Multan's ruler, Daud bin Nasr, had established himself as the religious leader of the Karamatis. He would introduce himself to people as Allah's special person and prophet, and display various supernatural feats to try to convert simple and uneducated people to the Karamati belief. At this time, Daud bin Nasr's followers spread word throughout the land that the ruler, the Karamati religious leader, Allah's saint, Daud bin Nasr had himself imprisoned all the jinns and ghosts of the 4-virgin fortress with his Karamati power and made them his servants, so they could not harm any person and people would have no fear of going to this fortress. Daud's lackeys further spread. The jinns of the 4-virgin fortress drank the blood of one fresh person every day. By Allah's special mercy, Daud himself had risked his Karamati life to imprison these jinns and ghosts. Anyone who wished could now see the imprisoned jinns and spirits. When Sultan Mahmud was busy filling a new army camp in Beira, a fair was going on at the 4-virgin fortress. Hearing this amazing news, groups of Daud's Karamatis began gathering at the 4-virgin fortress after evening. The fortress was also newly decorated. Lamps were lit everywhere. Such intense fragrance was sprinkled at the main gate and around the road of the fortress that all who entered the fortress, forgetting the world, became unconsciously intoxicated. Or the condition inside the fortress was even stranger to see. The outer courtyard of the fortress had been left exactly as before. Where for many days accumulated filth had gathered, rats had nested, and plaster had fallen off. Only the interior environment had been completely changed. A vast canopy was raised inside the house, colored tasseled curtains hung, colorful decorative lamps lit, creating such a festive atmosphere that ordinary people were astonished to see it. In the middle of the canopy was placed a huge carpet, a throne on the carpet. The throne was studded with jewels, pearls, and diamonds. In the colorful light, the gems and pearls on the throne sparkled like stars. Common people, seeing this extraordinary scene, were speechless with astonishment and becoming admirers of Dodd's supernatural power. Within a day or two, the Karamati word spread throughout Multan. The main topic on everyone's lips was the four-virgin fortress. People were saying Dowd had brought back to life the four virgins killed 1,000 years ago and shown them to the people in such a way that they flew in on the breeze and then dissolved back into the breeze. Visitors apparently heard the voices of the girls and the words of children. Dowd's Karamatas had such an impact among the residents of Multan that even in the Friday sermon, imams began mentioning Dowd's Karamati. They became admirers of Dodd's praises. Hindu priests in the temples were spreading the word that the Karamati was a true teaching. Hindu priests were telling their worshippers, actually the Karamati religion is the real Islamic religion. Mullahs only create walls of good and evil among people and keep them trapped in suffering. These are actually lies. Man's physical desires are given by the Creator. In this world, he can do whatever he wants with his will and means. There is no reason for guilt. Muslims in the most densely populated areas of Multan city lived. After the governing power of Multan fell into Karamati hands, sincere Muslims faced economic and social decline. From all sides, jobs, business, trade, misfortune descended on Muslims. Those who followed the Karamatas received government cooperation and patronage of all kinds and enjoyed every kind of opportunity and convenience. In a densely populated Muslim area, in a fortress-like house, a few true Muslim families lived similarly. A few days after the four-virgin fortress fair began, several people in this fortress-like house were in an important meeting in an old room discussing. But their discussion topic was not the praise of Dowdy's Karamati, but its deception. One of the speakers was that elder gentleman who had helped Rabea escape from Dodd's palace to trap Asim Omar in the conspiracy. Governing power of Multan is in the Karamatas' hands. They are the masters of threat everywhere. So we cannot publicly say that the Karamati is not the Islamic ideal. Complete Islam is the opposite. Islam saves man from sin and encourages good deeds. Islam's connection is with man's soul, while the Karamati religion is completely physical. According to Karamati belief, a person can indulge in any amount of pleasure, adultery, wine, and women. According to Karamati belief, a beautiful woman, if she wishes, can obtain any preferred man's company besides her husband. There is no obstacle to this. She is the sole owner of her body. No one has authority to block her desire. According to them, Allah has sent man into the world to enjoy the world's pleasures. There can be no rules of prohibition in this. You have noticed, the number of followers of the Karamatas is increasing like a group. Ordinary ignorant people, attracted by their incitement, are beginning to lose their faith, said one person. Man is naturally quickly attracted to sinful deeds, said the learned man among the gathered. In doing good deeds, there is no physical pleasure. Man's real strength is the soul. The soul cannot be seen. Only those can experience the soul's happiness who have kept the soul pure by worshiping Allah. Ordinary people do not want to understand this. The soul becomes weak through sinful deeds. When the soul weakens, the body also becomes weak. Doing too much sin kills a person's soul. At life's end, when a person dies, The body is buried in the earth, but the soul never dies. The soul is presented at Allah's court. What you are saying. Everyone present here knows. The misfortune pressing down on our heads. Speak with mercy about that, said a youth. Since the day Dodd set up the fair at the Four Virgin Fortress, showing jinns and the Four Virgins' spirits, groups of Muslims have been adopting Dodd's Karamati religion and losing their faith. I heard an imam give a sermon in a mosque. Karamati religion is a true religion. When any wrong ideology creates influence in the mosque, ordinary people start accepting it as the truth. Do you know? Hindu priests at the temples have been telling their worshippers that the Karamati religion is the true Islamic religion. Mullah's religion is not correct, said another youth. Even if imam and priest say the same thing, you will not see any Hindu adopting the Karamati religion, said the elder. We cannot tell people publicly that the Karamati is a completely wrong group. This group was created by the Christians. In the Mahabharata, these people have been doing missionary work to make Hindus and Christians help remove Muslims from faith. One of the faithless' blueprint is to make Muslims lose faith by wrapping it in an Islamic cloak and involving them in sinful deeds. The Karamatis are regularly being supported by Hindus so that Multan's Karamatis can deceive ordinary Muslims by presenting themselves as Muslims. Brothers, a terrible conspiracy against Muslims has begun. The Karamati group of the Four Virgin Fortress has already made half of Multan's Muslims lose their faith. Now we must think, what can we do to stop this terrible conspiracy? Until now, no one from our side has personally seen what is actually happening at the Four Virgin Fortress. Those who have come and seen say, every night the four virgins and children are apparently shown alive, said the learned man. It is said from a ring of fog the girls apparently appear and then disappear into the ring of fog again. Someone from our side should go and witness the matter personally. We are not going there. We say these miraculous events are not consistent with our religion. What we must do right now we have gathered here today to determine that, said a youth. If any deception or magic trickery has taken place there, we will expose the Karamatis' secret. The youth signaled his same-age companions and said, we are prepared to give our lives for Islam. If we have to face any conflict there, we have no fear. You are a learned man. Give us correct guidance on what we must do. Children, listen carefully, said the learned man. The Karamati group is created by the infidels. Their goal and purpose, you know. The worrying matter is, religion often weakens people. Muslims are not hesitant to risk their lives for religion. Our enemies know this well and use religion as a weapon to wound us. Dodd is power-hungry. To maintain power, he has worn the garb of religion. The label of religion. This is what Dodd uses to strengthen his power. If you notice, you will understand. Our religion's people have been deceived tribally, and all the deception has occurred under the cover of religion. The era of the righteous caliphs is no more now. They themselves were pure and also compelled people to follow proper religious practice. Current rulers try to maintain their caliphate under the cover of religion. These people use religion as a weapon to make the uneducated people their supporters. Ordinary people take a long time to understand their deception. And when they understand, there is nothing more to do. If anyone tries to speak the right truth against their deception, they are finished off with force. There is no longer any need to say that Daud bin Nasr is not a Muslim. Daud, who has been harming Islam, who has started working to destroy Muslims by combining with Christians and Hindus. Saying this publicly is as dangerous as facing him openly. We cannot do anything against him openly, and we cannot speak the truth. So we must conduct secret activities, said that forward-stepping youth. Yes. Tonight we will go to the Four Virgin Fortress, said the dervish. We will come after seeing the ground situation and then determine our next duty. After evening, the elder and his companions entered the fairgrounds of the fortress. Everyone was amazed seeing the interior environment of the fortress. The visitors' enthusiasm and stupefaction increased their astonishment further. Visitors were roaming around inside the fortress looking at the rooms and houses. With the elder was a group of 9 young men. 2 of the slender ones were aged 13 or 14. They were looking here and there when they reached a spot from where no one ahead could be allowed to go. A guard was turning back the visitors from advancing further. The elder and his companions also stopped here. Wanting to advance, the guard blocked them. The guard did not answer and angrily told the elder to go back. The guard's attention turned elsewhere, and the elder slipped through the gap and entered inside. The place was dimly lit, so the guard could not stop the elder's entry. The elder signaled his companions with his eyes to leave from there. The companions went back from there and mingled with the crowd gathered around the stage. Walking in the dark alley, the elder saw light flickering from within a room. He looked through the door gap. The room inside was beautifully decorated, a delightful carpet spread in the clouds, a pillow on the carpet, colorful lampshades lit. Half-naked, 5 or 6 beautiful young women were dancing uninhibitedly. 2 handsome men sat leaning on pillows in a royal posture. Before them, drinking vessels. They were pulling each dancing girl to their lap, amusing themselves in various ways and laughing uproariously. Seeing the scene, the elder advanced further. Ahead he found an open-doored room. Inside a lamp was burning. No person was there. The elder entered inside. He saw in one corner a staircase went down below. The elder thought, this might be some underground path or some warehouse room staircase. The elder started advancing, breaking through the staircase. Surprisingly, the house had no repair work anywhere, but the staircase was new, and the tunnel path was sufficiently wide. An adult fit man could naturally walk through it. The elder kept advancing through the tunnel path, lamps burning in places along the tunnel. The elder did not even notice. A few steps behind him, one person was following him with a dagger in hand. The person was tiptoeing behind the elder. The person raised the dagger to stab the elder, but the person could not figure out that the tunnel path was not wide enough to raise the hand high and swing it to strike. When the tunnel wall was struck with sound, the elder noticed behind him in a flash, lightning fast from his waist, pulled out a dagger and struck the attacker. Both their hand daggers clashed with sound. Neither could hit accurately. The elder forcefully kicked the guard's waist with his left foot, sending him crashing down. He drove his own dagger completely into his chest, pulled it out, drove it into the ankle with another kick. The man fell screaming in agony. Attracted by the screaming cry, the elder ran toward the tunnel entrance staircase. Several people ran toward him. The elder said, "Quickly go down. I am coming." They heard the wounded person screaming. Not recognizing the elder, they ran toward the tunnel direction, and the elder slipped into the dark alleyway and mingled with the crowd at the fair. Everyone's attention was toward the stage. The light intensity there was less. Everyone's eyes were toward the stage. The elder found his companions and briefly told them where he had gone. What he had seen and what had happened had come. The companions proposed he leave from here, otherwise there was a risk of being caught. Without hesitation, the elder left the fortress. A little later, the drums and trumpets sounded. Music played. This was the announcement of Daud's arrival on stage. Moments later, the announcer proclaimed the ruler of Multan, the Karamati prophet, Abul Fattah Sheikh Nasser bin Sheikh Hamid Karamati. The flag-bearer of true Islam has arrived on the stage. Jinns and ghosts are his servants. All present bow your heads and greet him. The drums and trumpets kept playing. To the rhythm of the music, wave after wave of melody arose, as if shaking hundreds of years of dust from all the rooms of the abandoned fortress. To the atmosphere of the music, Daud came walking slowly toward the stage, a royal crown on his head. his entire body draped in zari-embroidered gleaming royal garments. He came and sat on the diamond-studded throne. People bowed their heads in greeting at his arrival. The announcer cried out, "For hundreds of years this fortress had become a dwelling of jinns, ghosts, and spirits. They drank the fresh blood of one or more people every day. By the miraculous power of the prophet of true religion, by God's special power, he has made all the ghosts, spirits, and jinns his servants. He has kept them imprisoned. It is now the duty of all assembled people to accept his authority and become disciples at his hand. Otherwise the jinns and ghosts will harm them." This announcement was made in such a solemn and grave voice that the assembled people were tremendously influenced. Then in the ears floated the sound of slow-stringed instruments, along with the melody of the dance. At this time, the chorus sound of assembled voices also floated up. The entire canopy swayed to the beat of the music. Daud bin Nasser stood from the throne with his back to the spectators. He muttered something like a large incantation. The tunnel path was dark. From there first smoke began pouring out, making the stage area dark. Daud spread both hands and said, "O God of glory and majesty, O creator of humans and jinns, give me God's power, so that I can free them from the torment of jinns and ghosts." He said in a commanding voice, "Come before me." The smoke swirled around, making the stage dark. Slowly the smoke dissipated. From within the smoke, 4 young, beautiful women became visible. The women seemed like auras of paradise. On their bodies, gossamer silken garments. The musicians' playing became even more intense. To the rhythm of the instrument music, the stage swayed. The young women simultaneously bowed to Daud and fell prostrate. Daud signaled them to rise. Before the smoke completely disappeared, the young women also vanished. Before the young women's disappearance could be understood, on the stage appeared 4 deity-like wild men. Rough, dark faces, hunched, dark bodies, large eyes, their hair standing like decorated thorns, crooked horns on their heads, long teeth protruding from the hollows of their mouths. On the stage, the devils began dancing disgracefully. It was announced, "These are jinns." One person was seen with an even more terrifying face than these, like a demon, with a whip in hand, grinding his teeth. He began beating the wild devils in this way that the spectators trembled with the terrifying screaming. In a solemn, grave voice the command came, "Stop, stop the beating." The ghosts simultaneously said, "Master, we are leaving from here. Master, we will now obey you. We have become your disciples. We swear, you are Allah's prophet, Allah's messenger. We have come to know this news from the unseen." Again, a ring of smoke descended on the stage. It became dark. When the smoke cleared and the stage became clean, there neither devil nor Daud could be seen anywhere. It was announced, "The Karamati prophet has gone to present himself at Allah's court. What you saw and came to see, all of it is that tunnel's magic." The elder person said to his companions inside that old house, "The women you saw and came to see, I watched them through a gap in a closed room's door. All of them are artisans of that tunnel path. The tunnel path has been newly constructed. This tunnel path ends at the stage. Through this tunnel path, smoke is released toward the stage. The women and artificial devils appear through this tunnel path and disappear again back into the smoke's darkness of the tunnel." After coming to see the 4 virgin fortresses' tunnel magic, the elders' leadership group sat again in the old house for a strategy review meeting. Earlier my doubt had arisen that there were no jinns in this fortress, but keeping them imprisoned in this way was not possible. When the elder and his companions were deep in thought about the 4 virgin fortress events and their duty regarding it, a hard knock sounded at that house's door. The house owner quickly went toward the door, and others got ready to flee in case of danger. The house owner was their companion. If there was any danger signal, he would come to the door and cough. That was the arrangement. But today he did not cough. When the door opened, another companion of theirs was present. The news I have heard coming. If it is true, then the death knell of the Karamatis has struck. Several people from Bara have come and said, Sultan Mahmud has captured Bara. Bara's king Biji Ray has taken his own life. The people said, 3 days of such blood-soaked battle has been fought that all of the sultans and Biji Ray's helping resources and wealth have all been destroyed. Now the sultan is waiting for help from Ghazni. It will take time for supplies to reach from Ghazni. Currently no one is being let out of Bara. No one is being allowed to enter either. Everyone fell into deep thought. After a moment the learned man said, It is not possible for us to clash with state power. We can now continue the work of secretly eliminating the Karamati conspirators. The work that our dervish has so skillfully begun. We must be careful so that no one can identify us. If it were possible to kill Dodge, perhaps this wrongdoing would stop. As a third option, several of us could go to Bara and inform Sultan Mahmud of the situation here and request the Multan expedition. Everyone agreed with one voice. It was decided. The learned man, the elder, and 3 more young companions would set out for Bara the very next morning. At the dervish's secret shelter, just when news of Sultan Mahmud's Bara victory was being told, at that same moment Dowd's spies also informed him that Sultan Mahmud had captured Bara and Biji Ray had taken his own life. Dowd was then punishing other guards for the crime of killing one of the magical trickster's collaborators of the Four Virgin Fortress. The guards were appearing before him shamefaced and petitioning. None of them had killed him. Rather, they had seen one person going out. But Dowd was not at all willing to believe this. Dowd believed, by the conspiracy of some young woman, one of their own had killed him. Dowd was punishing the guards, but all the guards were pleading, "We didn't kill him." At this time, Dowd's commander came and informed him of Bara's bad news. Carrying the news, Dowd's condition was such that his intoxicating drunkenness vanished. Reckless Dowd was seeing darkness before his eyes, in fear of the conspiracy being exposed. On top of this, the terrible news shook him even more. He ordered the security chief, bind their hands and feet and hang them upside down, and if they still don't tell the truth, keep them in a dark cell without any food. After taking the guards, Dowd told the commander, "If Mahmud has captured Bara, then we need to prepare for our own protection. You tomorrow morning send several military officers in the guise of merchants. They should go and see the ground situation. If Mahmud has fewer military forces, then we will send news to Maharaja Anandpal to attack him." In the morning, 2 small caravans set out from Multan toward Bara. One group, the dervish, the learned man and his 3 companions. In the other group, 2 officers of Dowd's military force and 4 other soldiers. When Dowd's people saw the dervish's caravan, they said, "It seems they too are going that way. Come, let us also mix with them,